Baby, come sit closer. Because what I'm about to tell you, it still shakes my old bones when I think about it. I never imagined that the girl who married my only son would one day look me in the eyes and pretend I didn't exist. I never imagined she'd push me out of my own family, steal my place at the table I built with these hands, and smile while doing it. But I also never imagined the day karma would knock on our door, wearing the face of someone none of us expected. I still remember the exact moment everything changed. It was a Sunday morning, my favorite morning of the week. I always cooked brunch for the family. My house used to ring with laughter, footsteps, the smell of cinnamon pancakes. My son would hug me from behind saying, "Mom, no one cooks like you." And I would feel like the heart of my home. But that Sunday, oh darling, that Sunday the air was different the moment I woke up. I felt it in my chest like a quiet warning tapping my ribs. When I walked into the kitchen, there she was, my daughter-in-law Emily, already cooking in my kitchen. She didn't even turn around when I entered. Just kept whisking the eggs like she owned the place. I forced a smile and said, "Good morning, sweetheart." She didn't look up. Oh, morning. Just morning. No warmth. No softness. Just cold metal. My son walked in a minute later, kissed her cheek and said, "This looks amazing, babe." "Thank you." He didn't even notice I was standing there. You know that feeling? When the people you love drift away so slowly, you don't even realize you're losing them until the rope snaps completely. Tell me honestly, have you ever felt invisible in your own home? Because that's exactly how I felt. A ghost floating between the people I raised. The morning went on with quiet tension. She served the food. She placed a plate in front of my son, then one for herself, then one for the baby, and then nothing. No plate for me. I sat there waiting, thinking maybe she forgot. It happens, right? People forget. But she didn't forget. She just didn't care. I finally cleared my throat and asked gently, "Did you make mine separately?" She looked right at me, right through me, and said, "Oh, I didn't think you'd need one. You always eat so little." A lie. And she knew it. My son still didn't notice. His eyes were on the baby, on everything except the empty space where his mother sat, trying not to let her hands tremble. I didn't complain. I didn't argue. I kept quiet because mothers do that. We swallow our hurt to keep peace in the home we built. But inside me something cracked. And darling, cracks eventually become earthquakes. That afternoon, while everyone was watching TV, I went into my bedroom to get something from my drawer. I opened it and froze. My birthstone necklace, the one my husband gave me on our 25th anniversary, was gone. First, I thought maybe I misplaced it. My memory isn't as sharp as it used to be. So I checked again, tearing through every drawer, every box, every tiny corner. Nothing. It wasn't misplaced. It was taken. I walked back into the living room slowly, watching everyone's faces, watching their hands, their pockets, their eyes. My heart thumped so loudly I thought they'd hear it. And then, I saw it, hanging around Emily's neck, tucked partially under her sweater, but shining just enough for me to recognize it instantly. My necklace. My throat burned. My hands became cold. I asked softly, "Sweetheart, that necklace looks familiar." She touched it casually. "Oh, this? I found it in the kitchen drawer. Figured no one was using it." No one was using it. The disrespect, the arrogance, the shamelessness. My son finally looked up. "Mom, is that yours?" I waited for him to defend me. Even a little. But Emily replied first. "I mean, maybe. But she wasn't wearing it. And honestly, it's better if I keep it safe. She's been forgetting things lately." My son didn't argue. He didn't even ask me. He just nodded like she was right. Like I was some fragile old woman who couldn't be trusted with her own belongings. That moment, I felt something inside me die quietly. The part that believed she still respected me. The part that believed my son still protected me. I excused myself and went to my room. I sat on the edge of my bed with tears rolling down my cheeks. Not loud tears. Silent ones. The kind that slide down your face because your heart is too tired to cry out loud. I whispered to myself, "Why is she doing this? What did I ever do to her?" But the universe didn't answer. Instead, it sent me a sign. A real, clear, unmistakable sign. About an hour later, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, thinking it was spam. But when I opened it, my breath caught in my throat. There was a photo, a grainy zoomed-in picture of Emily, slipping into my jewelry box, her hand taking something, her face looking toward the door, and a text underneath. "You don't know me, but you deserve to know the truth." I stared at the screen, shaking. My heart pounded so loudly I felt it in my ears. Someone had been watching her. Someone had been keeping track. Someone knew everything. And that someone wasn't done. Before I could even process what I saw, another message popped up. "She's planning more. Check your closet before she hides the rest." My hands trembled as I walked to the closet. I pushed aside my dresses, bent down, and pulled open a small box where I kept my most precious things. Empty. She had taken more. Not just the necklace. Not just jewelry. Pieces of my life. Pieces of my husband. Pieces of my memories. And suddenly my sadness turned into something sharper. Something steadier. Something that felt like fire warming the cold parts of my soul. 'Cause now, I had proof. And proof, my child, is more powerful than fear. But that wasn't the real twist. The real twist walked into my house 2 days later, carrying the kind of truth that could destroy everything, or save it. Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you one thing. If you discovered someone was stealing pieces of your life behind your back, what would you do? I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that picture. The one of Emily digging through my jewelry box like a thief in the night. My own daughter-in-law. The woman I welcomed into my home with open arms. The woman I prayed would love my son the way I once did. But the universe wasn't done shaking me yet. Because the next day, just as I was making myself tea, a knock echoed through the house. Sharp. Urgent. Like someone who didn't come for a visit, they came for a purpose. I walked slowly to the door. My hands trembled. My breath felt thin. When I opened it, I froze. There stood a woman I had never seen before. Maybe in her mid-40s, brown hair tied back. Eyes exhausted like she hadn't slept in months. She held a folder close to her chest like it was precious. "Are you Mrs. Hayes?" she asked softly. "Yes," I whispered. "How can I help you?" She looked over my shoulder, as if making sure no one else was around. Then she leaned in slightly and said, "I'm the one who sent you the messages." My heart dropped into my stomach. I opened the door wider. "Come in." The woman stepped inside carefully, almost nervously, as if she expected Emily to appear at any moment. "Who are you?" I asked, keeping my voice steady even though my knees felt weak. She swallowed hard. "My name is Samantha. I used to know your daughter-in-law. Before she married your son." Just the way she said "used to know," my chest tightened. Her voice wasn't angry. It was wounded. She placed the folder on my table. "I'm here because I can't let her do to you what she's done to others." Others? That word hit me like a slap. "What do you mean, others?" I asked. Samantha hesitated, her hands gripping the folder so hard her knuckles turned white. "Emily isn't who she pretends to be." I felt the world tilt. "Explain." She took a shaky breath. "Before your son met her, she lived in my neighborhood. She was clever, sweet when she wanted to be, but she had a way of getting close to people, especially older women. She'd borrow things, take small belongings, earn their trust. And then slowly she'd drain them. Drain them. I whispered. Emotionally. Financially. In every way. Her voice cracked. "My mother was one of them." My throat tightened. "Your mother?" Samantha nodded. "My mother adored her. Treated her like a daughter. Let her in her home. Trusted her with everything. And Emily used that trust to take her money, her jewelry, and even convinced my mother she was forgetting things." She closed her eyes. "My mother started questioning her own memory, her own mind, just like she's doing to you." My hands trembled around my teacup. "She wouldn't," I whispered, my voice thin. "She couldn't." But deep inside I already knew. The signs were there. I just never wanted to believe them. Samantha opened the folder. Inside were photos, screenshots, receipts, even a few written statements. Proof. Solid, irrefutable proof. "She left our neighborhood after she was confronted," Samantha said. "Disappeared overnight. Recreated herself. And then she appeared in your son's life." A cold chill slid down my spine. "But why?" I whispered. Why my family? Samantha looked at me with eyes full of sorrow. Because your son is successful. Because you're comfortable. Because she likes stability, security, and family she can reshape around herself. I felt my heart ache. Not just ache break. I sat down slowly. Does my son know any of this? No, she said gently. And if she senses he might find out, she'll turn him against you even more. She's done it before. Those words, they were a knife twisting slowly. My son. My baby boy. The child I carried, raised, protected. She turned him into a stranger. I pressed my hand against my chest, trying to steady my racing heart. Why are you helping me? I asked quietly. Samantha's voice softened. Because when I saw her wearing your necklace in that picture she posted online, I recognized it. Your husband's birthstone. I recognized every detail from an old photo you once shared on your anniversary. And I knew exactly what she was doing. My mother used to say, silence makes the devil stronger. I stayed silent once. I won't do it again. She reached into the folder and pulled out a small flash drive. There's more on here, she said. Recordings. Conversations. Things she said about your family. You'll want to watch them when you're alone. My stomach twisted. What kinds of things? I whispered. Samantha hesitated. The kind that will hurt you, but also set you free. The room suddenly felt smaller, tighter, heavier. And just when I thought I'd heard everything, the front door clicked. Footsteps. Light, rushed footsteps. My daughter-in-law's voice rang down the hallway. Mom? Are you home? Samantha's eyes widened. She can't see me here. I quickly guided her toward the back door. Go. I'll message you later. She nodded and slipped out the back just as Emily stepped into the kitchen. Her eyes darted around suspiciously. Who were you talking to? I forced a tired smile. Just the mailman, sweetheart. She narrowed her eyes slightly, just enough to show she didn't believe me fully, but not enough to accuse me. She walked over to the counter and grabbed an apple. You know, she said, chewing slowly, I've been thinking, maybe it's time you let us keep some of your valuables in our room. It might be safer. With you getting forgetful and all. Forgetful. That word again. That lie again. She stared at me with that soft, fake concern that hid knives behind it. But this time, darling, I didn't feel weak. I didn't feel confused. I didn't feel small. I felt something else entirely. Strength. Clarity. Fire. Because now I knew she wasn't just a disrespectful girl marrying into my family. She was a danger. And dangers need to be stopped. Before she walked out of the kitchen, she leaned close to me and whispered with a smile that didn't touch her eyes. You should rest more, Mom. You've been acting strange lately. I kept my voice steady. Have I? Her smile widened just a little. Yes. People might misunderstand. I held her gaze unblinking. Let them. For the first time she looked unsure. Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you something from my heart. If someone walked into your home pretending to care, while planning to destroy everything you love, would you stay silent? Or would you fight back? You know, it's strange how the quiet moments in life can suddenly turn dangerous. How the smallest sound can feel like a warning. That night after Emily went to bed, every creak in the house felt sharper. Every shadow felt like it was watching me. I kept replaying Samantha's words in my head. The folder, the photos, the warnings. And then one question kept burning through me. How many lies had Emily told about me already? I sat alone in the living room, clutching that little flash drive like it was a lifeline. My hands were shaking. Not because I was afraid of what I might find, but because I already knew the truth would change everything. Once you see someone's real face, you can never unsee it. I plugged the flash drive into my old laptop. The screen flickered, loading several audio files and a few short videos. My heart pounded as I clicked on the first recording. It was Emily's voice. Cool. Sweet. Manipulative. She was talking to someone, I couldn't tell who. She's easy, Emily said. Old women always are. You just make them feel needed, then slowly make them doubt themselves. Once they second-guess their memory, you can control the whole house. I covered my mouth to keep from gasping. Hearing her voice like that, so cold, so calculated, felt like being stabbed slowly. Another clip started immediately after. I'll have the valuables moved soon. He'll think it was his idea. He always thinks my ideas are his. That's the beauty of it. My blood froze. She wasn't talking about me anymore. She was talking about my son. My baby. My only child. The person I raised to be gentle, trusting, warm. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But all I could do was sit there with tears burning my eyes, listening to the woman who stole my son's heart talk about him like he was a pawn on a chessboard. I clicked the next file with trembling fingers. This time it wasn't just audio. It was video. A shaky recording, maybe filmed secretly from behind a half-open door. Emily was sitting on a couch with someone I didn't recognize. A tall man with tattoos on his arms. She leaned close to him, her fingers brushing his knee. "We just need a few more months," she whispered. "Once I convince him his mother can't live alone, she'll have to move out. Then everything in the house will be his, which means mine." The man smirked. "And the old lady? She'll buy the whole dementia story." "She already is," Emily said with a proud little laugh. "She's so emotional, so easy to unsettle. I can't wait to get my hands on those savings she hides in the closet. My friend told me where she keeps them." My chest tightened so hard I thought I would faint. She knew. She knew everything. My hiding places. My fears. My weaknesses. That recording was the moment I realized. I wasn't just dealing with a selfish girl. I was dealing with someone dangerous. Someone trained in deception. That night a storm rolled in. Rain hammered the windows. Thunder shook the foundation of the house. And as the storm grew louder, so did a storm inside me. I closed the laptop and held it tightly against my chest like a shield. Then I whispered aloud, "You picked the wrong mother, sweetheart. I've survived too much to be erased by someone like you." As I stood up, a question slipped quietly through my mind, the kind of question that changes everything. If someone threatened the very family you built with your blood and years, how far would you go to protect it? Tell me honestly, if you were in my place, what would you do first? The storm outside rumbled again, as if waiting for my answer. I decided I needed to talk to my son. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. But as I walked toward the hallway, toward his room, I heard voices. Soft. Muffled. Urgent. His door was cracked open. And when I leaned close, I realized Emily wasn't asleep. She was whispering to my son. "I'm really worried about her," Emily said, her voice dripping with false concern. "She's been so confused lately. Talking to herself. Accusing me of things I didn't do." My chest tightened. "She's tired," my son whispered. "It's normal." "No," she replied softly. "It's more than that. I think she might be getting, forgetful. Maybe we should consider." "Emily," he interrupted gently. She raised me. "She's fine." But then Emily did something that made my blood boil. She sniffled. And then her voice cracked, perfectly timed. I don't feel safe around her anymore. The other day she looked at me like she didn't recognize me. What if she hurts the baby without meaning to? Lie, lie, lie. Every word was crafted like a weapon. My son exhaled deeply. Confused. Torn. Vulnerable. "Look," she whispered. "I'm not saying anything drastic. I'm just saying maybe she shouldn't live alone anymore. Maybe we can help her move into a facility where professionals can take care of her. It'll be safer. For everyone. A facility. A home. A nursing home." My own daughter-in-law was trying to get rid of me. My vision blurred. I didn't know if it was rage or heartbreak. Maybe both. I stepped back from the door, my breathing uneven. I suddenly understood something horrifying. She wanted me out of the picture. Completely. Physically removed from the home I built with my husband. Removed from the son I carried. Removed so she could do whatever she wanted unchecked. I walked upstairs quietly and sat at the top step, pressing a hand over my trembling heart. I wanted to storm into that room. I wanted to expose every lie, every secret, every recorded file. But then another thought hit me. If I confronted her too soon, she could twist it. She could cry. She could manipulate. She could make me look unstable. No, I had to be smart. I had to gather everything. Every message. Every recording. Every piece of proof Samantha gave me. I had to move carefully. Because now I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for my son. For my home. For my life. The storm outside cracked the sky open. Lightning flashed through the windows, lighting up the hallway in a ghostly blue glow. And right then, as I watched thunder bleed across the sky, something inside me hardened. I wasn't the weak one. I wasn't the fragile one. I wasn't the one losing control. I was the mother. I was the survivor. And I was done being silent. I was going to expose her. But before I could take my next step, something happened the very next morning that changed the entire game. Something I didn't expect. Something that made everything far, far more dangerous. You won't believe what happened the morning after I confronted my son with the truth. I still hadn't slept. My pillow was damp from tears I didn't even realize had escaped my eyes. The house felt too quiet, too cold, too still. Like the calm before a storm no one was prepared for. My hands were trembling as I folded my husband's old sweater, not because I was weak, but because I knew what was coming. Something in my bones whispered it. This is the day everything breaks open. I was in the kitchen warming my tea when I heard footsteps. Heavy, dragging, restless footsteps, coming down the hallway. My son. He looked exhausted, cheeks pale, jaw tight, eyes strange and hollow like he'd been awake all night replaying every word I said. Mom, he whispered, voice cracking. We need to talk. I nodded slowly, bracing myself. She said you lied, he said softly. She said you made up everything. The photos. The messages. All of it. Of course she did. Emily knew how to twist truth like wet clay in her hands. She knew how to cry on command, how to tremble just enough to make a man feel protective, how to look wounded in all the right places. My son ran his hand through his hair. She said you're confused. Forgetful. She said she just wants to help you. I placed my cup down gently. And what do you believe? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. His silence was enough to break any mother's heart. Before I could speak, a voice came from the hallway. Soft. Sweet. Poisoned. Did you tell her everything? Emily asked as she stepped into the room. Mascara smudged like she'd been crying for hours. Did you tell her how scared I've been? How she accuses me of things I would never do? She walked toward him, leaning into him as though she needed his strength to stand. It was a performance so perfect it could have won an award. She reached for my husband's sweater on the table. She's even hiding his things now. What if she gets worse? I snatched the sweater before she could touch it. For a moment her mask slipped. A tiny flash of anger in her eyes. Sharp, dark, real. Then she smiled again. Sweet, innocent, fake. My son's voice trembled. Emily, can you give us a minute? She hesitated, then kissed his cheek and slowly walked away. But before she turned the corner she glanced at me, just a glance. A threat hidden in a smile. I waited until her footsteps faded before I whispered, Son, you know me. You grew inside my body. You slept on my chest. You know my heart. Do you really believe I would lie to you? His throat tightened. Mom, I don't know what to believe. That sentence hurt more than anything she had ever done. But I didn't get angry. I didn't cry. I didn't break. Instead, I told him the truth he wasn't ready for. Someone came here yesterday, I said. Someone who knew her before you did. He looked up sharply. Who? Her name is Samantha. His face changed. Samantha? Emily told me about her. She said she was unstable, obsessive, jealous. She warned me she might try something. Of course she did. She built her lies ahead of time. She was always one step ahead. I opened the drawer and pulled out the flash drive. The tiny piece of plastic that held all the truth. Watch what's on here, I said quietly. And if after that you still believe her, then I'll never mention any of this again. He hesitated, staring at it like it was a bomb. Then he reached out slowly and took it. Just then the baby cried from the other room. My son turned to go check, and as he walked away I heard Emily's voice whisper softly to him. Are you okay? Did she upset you again? Not even an hour had passed, and she was already rewriting the story in his mind. Later that afternoon, I found her in the backyard pretending to water the plants. She didn't look up, but I knew she sensed me standing there. I could feel the electric tension between us. You're trying very hard, I said softly. She kept watering. I don't know what you mean. You're trying to make him doubt me. She finally turned. Her eyes weren't soft anymore. They were sharp, cold, calculated. "You're in my way," she whispered. "I need this family calm, stable, and you're unpredictable. Unpredictable." She said the word like it was an insult. "I'm his mother," I replied. "And I'm his future," she said. "Mothers fade. Wives stay." I felt something inside me freeze. Not fear. Not anger. Something deeper. Something ancient. She stepped closer, too close, her breath warm against my cheek. "You're old. You forget things. People will believe me before they believe you." She smiled. "They already do." For a moment the world blurred around me. My hands clenched at my sides. But then she made her mistake. She whispered, "Sooner or later, he'll trust me completely. And when that happens, you'll finally step aside." "Step aside," I whispered. She nodded, gracefully or not. "But it will happen." I lifted my chin, my voice steady. "Not while I'm breathing." She laughed softly, turning back to the flowers. "We'll see. Let me ask you something, sweetheart. And answer honestly in your heart. If someone talked to you like that, in your own home, threatening your place in your family, what would you do?" When dusk settled over the house, my son came downstairs holding the flash drive. His face was pale, his eyes swollen, his hands shaking. "Mom," he whispered, voice cracking. "We need to talk." I braced myself. He swallowed hard. I watched it. Before I could speak, another voice echoed from the hallway. "Emily." "I watched it too," she said, stepping forward with a calmness that scared me more than anything. "And I think we should finally clear the air." She looked at me with a chilling smile, as if she already had a plan for her next move. And sweetheart, what happened next shattered everything I thought I knew about her. She rushed toward me so fast the air moved with her. And for the first time since she married my son, I wasn't afraid of her. I stepped back, standing tall, the proof in my hand like a shield. Grant held up the photos. "Emily, what is this?" Her expression snapped, like a mask ripping off. She grabbed the photos, tore them, threw the pieces at him, screaming, "You weren't supposed to talk to her. You ruined everything." Then she whirled toward me. "You," she hissed. "You did this. You went looking where you shouldn't have. Baby." She stepped so close I could feel her breath on my cheek. And she whispered something I'll never forget. "You're weak. You can't stop me." I looked her dead in the eyes and replied softly, "No, my dear. I'm not weak. I'm awake." Her face changed, shocked, almost scared. Grant moved between us. "Emily, you lied to me. You lied to everyone." "Oh, shut up," she snapped. "I needed you. I needed him. I needed all of you. You think I care about feelings?" She laughed, a high, cruel sound. Then she pointed at me. "You were supposed to be easy, just like the others." "Others?" I whispered. She smirked. "Old women always fall for kindness. Sweetheart." Her words sliced across my heart, but they cut something else too. They cut my fear. Suddenly I wasn't that quiet grandmother anymore. I wasn't the woman she dismissed. I was a mother, a wife, a fighter, and someone who finally saw her clearly. I stepped closer, my voice steady. "I saw the recordings." Her smirk vanished. "And the messages," I added. She blinked hard. "And the man you've been meeting." Her breath shuddered. Grant snapped, "You used me." But Emily, she didn't deny it. She didn't apologize. She didn't even look ashamed. She looked angry. "You think you can expose me?" she snarled. "You think anyone will believe you over me? I'll tell your son you're confused. I'll tell him you're losing your mind. He'll believe me. He always does." But this time, I smiled, because she didn't know what I had hidden in my pocket. I pulled out my phone and pressed one button. A small beep sounded. Emily froze. Her eyes widened in horror. I had recorded every word she just said. Her threats, her confessions, her cruelty, her lies. And the moment she realized it, her face drained of color. "You," she whispered. "You tricked me." I stared right into her shaking eyes. "No, sweetheart." I finally protected myself. For the first time, she stepped back. She wasn't in control anymore. She wasn't the smartest person in the room. She wasn't untouchable. She was exposed. Grant shook his head. "I'm done with you," She glared at him. You were nothing. He didn't flinch. She turned to me. I can fix this. Just delete it. We can pretend. No, I said firmly. This ends now. Then I heard a voice behind us. Familiar one. A trembling one. Mom? What's going on? It was my son. He stood in the doorway staring at us, confused, scared, lost. And sweetheart. This was the moment that would decide everything. The truth was out. The lies were collapsing. The real battle was about to begin. My child, when I stood there in that dark hallway at the end of that night, every part of me felt both terrified and powerful at the same time. Terrified because the truth I finally uncovered could break my entire family. Powerful because for the first time in months, the fear wasn't controlling me. I was controlling it. But I didn't know the night had one more twist waiting for me. You remember how chapter 5 ended? Me standing in front of my bedroom door after hearing voices through the baby monitor? My hands shaking, my breath trapped in my chest, listening to Emily whispering things about me that could poison my son completely. And then silence. The worst kind of silence. The kind where you know someone is doing something, but you don't know what. When I pushed the bedroom door open, the room was dark and still. The only sound was the faint hum of the heater. The baby wasn't there. My daughter-in-law wasn't there. The crib was empty. The sheets slightly wrinkled. As if someone had lifted the baby quickly. My heart sank so hard it hurt. For a moment, I froze. That instinct, the old mother's instinct, kicked in. The one that senses danger before the brain understands it. I stepped back into the hallway. Emily. I called gently, trying not to sound afraid. Where's the baby? No answer. I walked slowly toward the living room. The house felt wrong. Too quiet. Too slow. Like time itself was holding its breath. And then, I heard it. A soft, muffled whisper. Coming from the garage. Not quite a voice. More like someone trying very, very hard not to be heard. My legs felt heavy as I moved toward the door. Every step felt like I was walking deeper into something I couldn't undo. I pushed the door open just a hair, just enough to see. My daughter-in-law was there, rocking the baby in her arms, talking sweetly to him. But the sweetness wasn't real. It was dripping with something else, something darker. She murmured, "Don't worry, baby. Grandma won't be around much longer. Mama's going to fix everything." Fix everything? My hand tightened on the doorknob until my knuckles ached. I stepped inside the garage quietly, and the moment she heard my footstep, she turned around with a sharp, startled jerk, like a thief caught with their hand still inside the drawer. "Oh," she said with that same fake softness she always used. "You scared me." I folded my arms slowly. "What were you fixing?" She smiled. "Too wide. Too sharp. Just trying to calm the baby. You know how fussy he gets when he feels tension in the house." Tension she created. I didn't respond. I just watched her. And for the first time she looked away first. But before I could say more, she placed the baby back into my arms. And darling, that was the moment I realized something chilling. She wasn't smiling anymore. She was studying me, watching me, measuring me, like she was calculating her next move. And I swear to you, the hairs on my arms stood up. I held the baby close, his tiny warm body resting against my chest. His innocence was the only steady thing in that whole suffocating moment. Then she said something that sent a cold wave straight down my spine. "You know, people believe what they hear first." She brushed dust off her sleeve. "And your son has already heard so many things about your forgetfulness." She wanted me scared. She wanted me off balance. So I just tilted my head and asked quietly, "But what if he hears the truth next?" Her eyes twitched, just a fraction, but enough for me to know she felt something she didn't expect. Fear. She opened her mouth to reply, but before she could, the garage door slammed. Not by the wind, by someone standing behind us. My son. He looked between us, confused, tired, holding his phone like he wasn't sure who to believe anymore. "What's going on?" he asked. And sweetheart. That question shattered something inside me, because he wasn't asking out of concern. He was asking out of suspicion. For me, not her. My heart broke quietly in that moment. Emily walked toward him quickly, gently placing her hand on his arm. "Your mom is overwhelmed," she whispered softly like she was comforting him. "She needs rest. She's been imagining things again. Imagining. Again. Lies layered like bricks in a wall she built around him. My son sighed heavily, rubbing his forehead. Mom. Maybe you should take it easy for a while. You've been on edge. I almost cried right there. Not because he doubted me, but because she had poisoned him so slowly, so gently, that he didn't even realize he'd swallowed the poison whole. I nodded quietly. I'm fine, I said. But I need to talk to you. Alone. Her head snapped up instantly. About what? I looked directly at her, my voice steady as stone. Not you. She stiffened. My son hesitated. Emily, can you take the baby inside? She didn't want to. I saw the panic flicker across her face. But she forced a smile and walked inside with the baby. The second she was gone, I took a breath I'd been holding for months. Sit, I told my son. He sat across from me, confused, tired, but still my boy. Something's wrong, I whispered. He rubbed his face. Mom, please don't start. I have proof. His hands dropped. What? I pulled the small flash drive from my pocket, the one Samantha gave me. His eyes widened. What's that? He asked. Everything, I whispered. Everything you need to know about the woman you married. His face went pale. I placed it gently in his hand. Watch it when you're alone. Not now. Not with her in the room. Not when she can twist your thoughts again. He stared at the drive, frozen. Mom, if this is just more. It's not. I cut in, my voice trembling but strong. And deep down, you already know something isn't right. His eyes softened with the first real spark of doubt he'd shown in months. But just when the moment was shifting, the garage door creaked open again. Emily stood there. But she wasn't pretending anymore. Her face was cold, sharp, dangerous. She looked at the flash drive in his hand, and her voice, oh darling, her voice turned into something I'd never heard before. Give that to me. My son stood slowly. Emily. She stepped forward. Give it. To me. Her eyes were wild. Her hands shaking. Her mask had fallen completely. And right there, in that cold garage, I realized something horrifying. She would do anything to stop the truth from coming out. Before I tell you what she did next, let me ask you something from my heart. If someone tried to erase you from your own family, would you let them win? Or would you fight until your last breath? When I opened that door and saw the police standing behind my son, for a moment, my heart forgot how to beat. The hallway felt too bright, too cold, too narrow for what was coming. And my son, my baby, stood there with eyes that weren't angry, they were broken. Like he had finally seen the truth, and it was heavier than he knew how to carry. The officer spoke first. Ma'am, I'm Detective Collins. We need to speak with you privately. But my son stepped forward before I could answer. He gently held my arm, softly, carefully, like he was afraid I might disappear. Mom, I know everything now, he whispered. Everything. The word wrapped around my lungs, squeezing them until I could barely breathe. For months, I had dreamed of this moment. For months, I imagined him finally seeing who she really was. For months, I prayed he'd believe me. But now that the moment was here, I wasn't prepared for the pain on his face. He walked inside, closing the door behind him. The officers followed, their radios crackling softly. My house, once peaceful, now felt like a confession chamber. I guided everyone into the living room. My legs felt heavy, but I didn't show weakness. Not now. Not anymore. My son sat across from me, his hands shaking. Mom, Samantha told me everything. The neighbors too. Even the hospital. Hospital. That word made my stomach drop. I leaned forward. What do you mean the hospital? What happened? He swallowed hard, his throat tightening. Emily went to the ER yesterday after the argument. She said you pushed her. His voice cracked. She said she fell because of you. My chest tightened so suddenly it hurt to breathe. I never touched her, I whispered. Not once. I know, he said quickly. I know that now. They checked the security cameras outside the ER. She tripped while getting out of the car. She lied. She lied to everyone. The detective stepped closer. Your daughter-in-law has a pattern of manipulating situations to make herself appear like the victim. She's under investigation for multiple counts of financial exploitation and coercive behavior. I closed my eyes. A wave of relief washed over me so strong my hands trembled. My son looked at the detective. Where is she now? The detective exhaled. We issued a warrant this morning. We found her at a motel on the edge of town. She tried to leave the state. Leave the state. She wasn't just dangerous. She was running. I pressed my fingers to my lips, trying to steady myself. And the baby? My son's eyes softened with a kind of pain only a father understands. With Child Protective Services temporarily, they needed to assess everything. Oh, sweetheart, I whispered, touching his hand. I'm so sorry. He broke. His head dropped into his hands, his shoulders shaking, not out of anger but guilt. Mom, he choked out. I let her push you out of your own home. I didn't see what she was doing to you. I didn't see any of it. I failed you. I lifted his chin with trembling fingers. No, my love. You didn't fail me. You were deceived. Good people are easier to deceive than bad ones. Remember that. He leaned into my palms like he was 5 years old again, lost and needing comfort. But the detective cleared his throat gently. There's more. The room froze. More. I whispered. The detective opened a small folder, the same one Samantha had mentioned. We examined the recordings and documents the neighbor collected. We found evidence she was planning to put assets under her name. Your bank accounts, your house, even your medical decisions. My son's head snapped up. She tried to. She did, the detective said. Your mother was the final stage of her pattern. Once she isolates a victim emotionally, she moves to legal control. It's what she attempted with her previous targets. A chill crawled up my spine. I wasn't just losing my family. She was trying to take my life piece by piece, until I was nothing but a shadow she controlled. The detective closed the folder. But she didn't succeed. Because you had proof. And because someone decided to speak up. Samantha's face flashed in my mind. Her mother. All the women before me. And then, something unexpected happened. My son reached into his jacket and pulled out my birthstone necklace, the one she stole. The one that was the final spark in this whole nightmare. He placed it gently in my hands. I want you to have this back, he whispered. I'm so sorry it ever left you. I held it like it was a piece of my soul. The weight, the memories, the love from the man who gave it to me decades ago. It all returned to me in a flood. But my son wasn't finished. I talked to the attorneys, he said softly. Mom. She signed several documents pretending to be you. Forged signatures. Those charges alone will keep her away from us for a long time. My breath trembled. And the baby? Tears filled his eyes. They said I can apply for full custody once everything settles. They said, he'll be safe with me. I reached for his hand again. He will be. And you will be too. The detective stepped closer. Ma'am, we will need you to give a full statement. But for now, I want you to know you're safe. She won't hurt you again. Safe. For the first time in months, that word didn't feel like a lie. My son looked around the living room slowly. Mom, I want you to move in with me for a while. Just until things calm down. I shook my head gently. No, sweetheart. This is my home. My memories live here. And I won't let her chase me from the life I built. He smiled through tears. You're stronger than all of us. No, I whispered, squeezing his hand. I just had no other choice but to be. Before I tell you how this story truly ended, let me ask you something from my heart. If someone threatened everything you loved and you finally got the chance to stand up, would you fight back with fire? Or with truth?